Hello guys, it's Jonathan here talking about an interesting Beyblade topic. I've seen some discourse on this recently, so I wanted to give my own thoughts on it. Now I do want to say I am not a chemist, I'm not like a metal worker or anything, so I'm not like the most official source possible on this kind of thing. However, I do know enough about this stuff to where I feel like I can at least talk about it, and I just want to give my opinion on fake Beyblade. Again, there's been a little bit of discourse, so I wanted to just talk about it. Also, this is going to be one of those videos where I don't interact with the camera. I just have Cobalt Drake on the camera because it's a popular Beyblade to fake. This one's real, but I see a lot of fakes of it floating around. But yeah, anyway. So yeah, apologies for another video where I just sit back and talk, but this one I think makes enough sense. It's just a discussion, so. I feel like talking about fake Beyblade is hard, because no matter which angle I take or how I try to articulate, I feel like there's always going to be issues with it, and some people will disagree. So anyway, I'll just get into it. So first, I'll just ask this question: do fakes contain lead? The answer to that is, well, it depends. Certain brands seem like they are trying to not, and I'll come back to this later. I'm not just trying to say that as a blanket statement, but yeah. Some places seem like they kind of don't want to have lead in them, which makes sense, but other ones clearly just, especially if you see like those ones on Amazon, I feel like those are pretty bad. But yeah, some of these do contain lead. Others seem like they might not, but I'll come back to this. I know Flame is an example that people have pointed out as someone that apparently tries to make better quality fakes and doesn't have lead. But again, we'll get back to that. Yeah, so some fakes do more than likely contain lead, at least some of the time. Others, maybe not as much. However, there are still problems with these other ones, which I'll get into, but yeah. So still, there is a lead risk for these fakes. Now, what's so bad about lead? Okay, so lead, it's not actually touching lead that is the problem. It's more getting it into your system. When Beyblade, clash with each other, particles will be released. I mean, you usually can't see these unless it's a noticeable chip or something, but still. Particles can be released when they hit against each other, which makes sense, and during this, particles can fly off and you can inhale them and you get lead in your system. Lead isn't something that just gets out of your system naturally, and it's also considered toxic to humans, so that's a bit of an issue. Now, are you likely to get lead poisoning from playing with Beyblade? I'm going to be honest, probably not. But if you get unlucky, it's not impossible for it to happen, and there are problems with this. Lead poisoning isn't something that you might immediately notice, and it can cause, a heart or a brain or even, kidney issues as well. So a few things that it could, impact, which is bad. But again, it is still unlikely, but the risk is still there to where it should be mentioned. And I feel like that's the thing is, I'm just gonna say, if you're someone who knows this, you understand, even if it's unlikely, there is still a risk with, buying fakes and having, lead and potential lead poisoning, which probably shouldn't happen, but it's still something to be mindful of. If you know this, and you still want to buy them, I mean, I'm not gonna stop you, I'm not your parent, so, like, what am I gonna tell you? So, I don't think it's, like, wrong for people to buy fakes if they know this and just don't care. If you want to buy it in that case, I mean, I guess. However, there's a big asterisk with this, and that is minors should not purchase these. If you're younger, especially like, under like, 13, 14 or something, like really young, my videos aren't catered to these people, but I mean, if you're a parent or like aunt or uncle or something, you're in contact with people that are younger and like Beyblade, I think you should, inform them or even like their parents or whoever to not get these and make sure they're not getting them, because it is more likely for kids to fall victim to lead poisoning, and also with it having potential brain effects, it can impact development. It is something that is again unlikely, but it is more concerning in kids than adults overall. So I would say anyone that's younger really, really should not be messing with these at all. Even if it can, think about the risks or whatever, I don't think they're old enough to really understand the decision. A lot of them might just be like, oh, hey, a $2 Beyblade, I want that, Why would I, spend more. I'm sure I'll be fine. And, it's not something that I think they can really decide for themselves. So anyone that's younger, I don't think should be messing with these at all. It's only if someone's older and understands the risks and, isn't putting anyone else at risk aside from themselves. Then in that case, again, I'm not your parent, but I do think minors should be careful of these for sure. And I know another argument people will say to kind of avoid fakes is like, oh, well, you're not supporting the brand, and which I do understand. You're not supporting the brand, the official brand, Takatomi, by buying fakes. However, for me personally, I kind of don't care about this one. I know this is going to be a hot take, and this is just me personally. I know a lot of people will disagree with this, but I mean, Takatomi, they've had horrible like random booster practices, and the rare get battle stuff with the points and the rates and stuff. It just feels like, I mean, it's technically a kids app, and it just feels like legalized child gambling at this point. I mean, with all the like gotcha stuff in Beyblade X, I feel like they don't care about the consumer, so why should I care about them? But again, that might be a hot take. But yeah, I don't really compare about that or compare. I don't really care about the whole thing about not supporting the brand. That's never bothered me when people buy fakes, but it's more the other problems with it. But yeah, and also another thing. I know some people might say, "Oh, well, no, see certain fake brands." Like I said, Flame is one that's considered to be apparently better, but apparently there's been some things where it's like, no, these are trying to be better. They don't have lead. Other ones will say like, oh, we even have like receipts to why ours don't have lead. The problem is a lot of these fake brands aren't properly regulated. Also, they're counterfeit brands. They're illegal. They're not actually regulated at all. So they may have certain standards, but like again, these standards might not be proper legal regulations, and also again they aren't a legitimate business. So are they really following proper regulations even if they claim to and hold themselves to a standard? This is like, it's very likely they're getting cheap labor, cheap materials. It's very, very possible for lead to slip in, even if that's not their intent. Because I'm sure a lot of these fake brands are not trying to poison people. Some probably just don't care at all, but others might at least have it in mind. But it's not impossible for them to contain lead. And there have been lead issues with official products in the past, not with Beyblade, just other toy brands. But I mean, if lead can find its way into actual official products, I think it's a bit disingenuous to say that they can't affect counterfeit products that aren't getting proper regulation. Again, some of these brands it's probably less likely than others, but the risk is it's still there. Again, with some of these, it becomes very, very unlikely, I think, to get any lead poisoning because A, they probably don't contain lead. I mean, they could, but it's less likely. And then B, of course, Beyblade are again less likely to give you lead poisoning. It's not like you're constantly inhaling these things. At least I hope not. But I mean, they're small. It's less likely, but the concern is still there. That's kind of something I want to constantly, say is that yes, I know it's less likely for lead to be in some of these, and I know the risk of lead and Beyblade is less likely to harm someone, but I still want to push that yes, this still can be dangerous. There is a reason why lead is, well, okay, technically small, like very, very small quantities of lead is allowed, but the reason it's so restricted though, like it's restricted for a reason. The stuff is toxic to humans, so if it's above that limit, it's testing positive for lead. It's not something ideal. And I really want people to, be sure that they at least understand those risks just to be safe. And also for me personally, I will never buy fake products. And aside from possible lead poisoning or whatever else, they're just worse quality. Honestly, that's kind of my biggest issue. Honestly, like I know I've been pushing the whole lead thing, but like at the same time, these things they're just not as high quality. They're more prone to breakage. Like I said, they're generally made out of cheaper materials. They could, I mean, just have very, very different quality between the same product. Again, just less quality control. Maybe you get one that's actually good, and it even beats a Tiger Tommy Bay, but I feel like that's pretty unlikely, and more likely it's going to be worse, or just a complete, mess of a bay. Like it just barely even functions, or just breaks on the first the first spin or something. Yeah, some of these fakes, they're not regulated. They don't have good standards in the slightest. Yeah, quality wise, these things kind of just suck a lot of the time. And if they don't, they're still generally going to be worse than a regular base. So I'd still say, yeah, obviously if you can buy a regular base, buy them. But if you get fake base, just again, be older for one, and also just really understand the risks. That yes, lead, it doesn't just get out of your system normally, and it can have pretty dangerous effects. I doubt you'll have a lethal dose of lead from a Beyblade, but again, still can impact other organs, which is problematic. And my last thing here to talk about is I feel like YouTubers, and this doesn't go for just big YouTubers, I feel like even smaller YouTubers need to be aware of this. Like, you need to know what you're talking about to some degree with this stuff. Like, if you're going to talk about fakes, or show fake Beyblade, I feel like you need to be mindful of how you're doing it. I feel like there is a level of responsibility for showing fakes. Because again, Beyblade technically a kid's product, so I'd be showing these to kids, especially for channels that are meant for kids. I know some are meant for adults and older collectors, but especially channels that are targeted towards kids, I feel like you need to be very, very mindful of how you're articulating these bays. I think you do need to be responsible when showing actual fake bays, and again, I mean, I think for channels that are promoting Beyblade to kids, I think just straying away from fakes is by far the better option. But aside from that, if you do show fakes, again, just be very careful with how you're articulating it, and really trying to push a message of, yeah, these aren't good. Even then, I kind of don't like promoting them in that sense, because, I mean, you're still showing them. If it's not a kids channel, it's one thing, but I don't know, for kids channels, it's more questionable. But even if you're not a kids channel, I think if you do show them, at least mention hey, these might not be safe. So yeah, with that in mind, I think that's everything I have to talk about. Let's see, we complain about gotchas, I always do. Talked about YouTubers and what they should be responsible with. Quality on these things is generally worse, and of course, yeah, lead, it's a little bit disingenuous to say that every fake has lead, but I kind of understand where the message was pushed to some extent, because again, I think trying to just say that they're all bad is better than saying that they're all good. I mean, yeah, obviously you shouldn't fall into black and white categories like that, but still, I do think I understand the messaging and why that can be the case, but yeah, not every fake is going to be hazardous. It's just that some of them can be. And again, even if certain ones claim that they're not, it's a counterfeit brand. They aren't put under these same regulations because they're operating legally. So because of that, again, they're just not held to a proper standard Taco Tommy would be. These brands can have lead slip into them potentially, and it can be harmful. Will you die from Beyblade? Unlikely. Will you have actual bad consequences from lead poisoning from Beyblade? Probably not. But again, just be mindful of these things. Just know that they exist. If you're an adult and you're willing to do that and no one else is getting harmed, well, I mean, you do you, I guess. Again, I'm not your parent. But as far as kids go, they should not be anywhere near fakes. And unfortunately, yeah, Beyblade is technically a kid's product, so I feel like a lot of people who are getting fakes are either kids or parents who don't know any better, so yeah, they need to be very, very mindful of these things, because yeah, fake products, regardless of what you think of them, I just don't think kids should have them, because again, they're more susceptible to lead poisoning if a case like that ever did come about. So that can be a problem. But anyways, that's kind of everything I have to say. Those are just my thoughts on fake Beyblade. I saw some discourse on this recently. I wanted to give my thoughts on it. I'm not a professional at metalworking or chemistry, but I do know some of the stuff about the effects of this, so I do want to at least give some thoughts on it, so hopefully this made enough sense. Yeah, just to keep fake bays away from kids is kind of the main takeaway. Aside from that, yeah, just be mindful. So anyways, yeah, I think that's everything for this video, so thanks for watching, and bye-bye.